Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Perry, the founder of the Alliance for Aging Research and a current board member. I am very pleased to be presenting the Founders Award of the Alliance for Aging Research. It is my great pleasure today to be joined by two very special people to receive this very special award. Jonathan Nez was inaugurated in 2019 as president of the Navajo Nation. And at age 43, he is the youngest person ever to hold that title. He also was invited to co-present the inaugural address at the Democratic National Convention in 2020. Dr. Jill Jim, Executive Director of the Navajo Department of Health, has a doctorate in public health and 2 master's degrees from the University of Utah. And during the presidential transition last year, she was selected to be a special advisor on COVID-19. The Navajo Nation, with some 300,000 members, is the largest Native American tribe in the United States. It covers some 27,000 square miles across 3 states. And early in the pandemic, the Navajo Nation had the highest per capita rate of new infections in the entire country. That's where President Nez and Dr. Jim went to work. They imposed strict mitigation strategies across the Navajo Nation. This included mask and social distancing. They put limits on outside visitors, even closing all the roads into the Navajo Nation and the businesses to outside visitors. Despite the economic impact this would have, it was a necessary move that they took with boldness on behalf of protecting their people. Then, when vaccines became available in December of last year, President Nez and Dr. Jim provided the kind of leadership that encouraged vast numbers of Navajo people to reach out and become vaccinated. They now stand at over 70% of their population fully vaccinated. This successful vaccine drive was embraced by the people after a painful year in which nearly 1,400 of the Navajo people perished from the COVID disease. President Nez and Dr. Jim, all of us at the Alliance for Aging Research, admire and respect the Navajo Nation community, and it is our pleasure and privilege to honor you with the Founders Award for your sterling leadership at a time of great public health crisis.
On behalf of the Navajo Nation, the Navajo Department of Health, Dr. Jill Jim, and the Navajo people, we are honored to accept the Alliance for Aging Research 2021 Daniel Perry Founders Award. Thank you, Dan, for inviting us to be part of the fireside chat today.
President Nez, I understand that part of the way you rallied the support of your people was by drawing upon traditional stories of the Navajo people who have faced hardships and threats from outside in the past. Can you talk a little bit more about how you framed that in terms of the coronavirus and COVID-19?
One of those teachings that we have on the Navajo Nation is about the hero twins. The hero twins came to the Navajo Nation at the beginning of our people to fight off monsters. And at that time, monsters like old age, hunger, poverty, lice were prevalent. Today, we have modern day monsters as well. You got suicide, alcoholism and drug addiction, PTSD, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer. And you also have this new monster that has come onto our nation called COVID-19. Of course, if you're in a fight, you have to have the armor and the weapons to fight off these monsters. And those weapons are using face masks and also hand sanitizers. The armor is the vaccine. And so by framing it, utilizing our way of life teaching with the help of our elders and our frontline warriors, we were able to push back on COVID-19.
Well, that's really quite inspiring. Dr. Jim, as a public health leader, you know that much of the rest of the United States has struggled with acceptance of the COVID-19 vaccine. How has the values and the culture of the Navajo people helped you to have your people rise to a level of acceptance of that vaccine so far beyond the rest of the country?
Well, thank you, Dan, for that question. The Navajo Nation participated in a clinical trial with the Pfizer vaccine early on. And with President Nez's support, we were able to get the Pfizer CEO as well as Dr. Fauci on our town hall meetings here. So I think there is just a lot of transparency and using today's tools such as technology to convey information. I believe there was just that sort of messaging and also coordination here on the Navajo Nation.
Well, the success of 70% full vaccination is a testament to your leadership and that of President Nez and the communication strategies that you put in place. So, President Nez, elders, I understand, are seen as the gateway to the history and the culture and the traditions of the Navajo people. And yet, during the terrible losses early in the pandemic, a great number of elders perished. Can you talk a bit about the impact that that's now had on the Navajo Nation?
We've lost over 1,300 of our Navajo citizens, and our thoughts and prayers go out to those families. And we are also recognizing that 2/3 of the 1,300 plus people we've lost were our elders. And, you know, they took much of our teaching, some of our teaching with them as well. But we did challenge our Navajo citizens throughout this pandemic to also teach at home because our schools were closed, our students were doing classes at home, and much of our Navajo citizens took up that challenge. And I've heard stories that from our young people that many of them were very grateful that their family members were able to share with them their family stories and the Navajo history with one another, and also to hand down our language. But it was just like all throughout the country, that most vulnerable population were our elders and those that had health issues. And we did our very best to protect them. And we do have our own Navajo doctors and physicians who were speaking directly to the elders in our own language. And I think that was one of the reasons why we brought confidence to the vaccine. And as was noted, over 70% of our Navajo people have been fully vaccinated.
The COVID-19 emergency has obviously exposed some shortcomings across our healthcare delivery system throughout the United States. And I'm sure it has exposed some areas within Native American communities in terms of healthcare delivery where there needs to be greater investment. And Dr. Jim, I wonder if you can speak to that, about some of the plans that you may have going forward to address those needs in your community.
I think that the shortcomings of what we experienced here on Navajo early on just really didn't really as much also relate to healthcare systems, but just the basic infrastructure here, basic sanitation and running water and electricity. We have more remote and rural communities, and healthcare access could be hours away just to go to the emergency. Not only is an individual's inability to survive and live a healthy life, but the healthcare system is inadequately funded. And on the Navajo Nation, the priorities have been to have enough healthcare facilities and inpatient beds and hospital beds. And the only reasons why we survived in the first round is through volunteer organizations for medical staffing to come to the Navajo Nation when we didn't have access to resources. But the second surge, we really relied on federal medical staffing. So staffing is definitely an issue before the pandemic. And I know President Nez has mentioned that in this administration, to encourage our youth to go and receive medical degrees, nursing degrees, sort of those highly needed professions here to maintain and sustain our healthcare systems. But the very immediate need is just enough funding to make enough hospitals and fix those outdated hospitals.
Well, I have no doubt that you will address those shortcomings and will gain the support of your people to get the job done, even as you have rallied them to embrace the right public health strategies in this terrible emergency. I want to thank you both, President Nez, Dr. Jim. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for your leadership and for your very hard work. And thank you for letting our viewers see that beautiful background that is behind you at Window Rock on the Navajo Nation. Congratulations, both. You are very deserving honorees of the Founders Award.